Here we go. Time for another sprint zone. 7-1, and it is a warm day and a really good turnout. I made my semi usual speech about getting people to ride handlebar to handlebar. It was pretty good during this ride. And usually during the first half of the ride, it's pretty good. I mean, not at this particular point. I mean, it's decent, but later on, after the second sprint zone onto one of the roads, it just all turns to basically shite. But I digress. Anyway, big contingent here, and as always, I'd like to thank the people who sent me telemetry. In this case, first timer James Stevens, and of course, long time OG Ron Kennedy, whose video we'll be looking at a little later. And to remind him to turn his camera on in the middle of the sprint. But that's a good thing, otherwise, I wouldn't have any footage. Making the corner, and it is go time. Good shot of Curtis McIlvaine waiting there at the corner, and I'm starting to move up. Everyone is rounded the corner. The rules of engagement have, in fact, been adhered to since no one's attacking. But as we see, somehow there is the normal lethargy creeping into the group. I know a lot of these riders, some of them ride TTH, OCR, SOAR, and they are strong, but yet they don't want to hit it hard early on. And I would like to see selections made like during this little melee, this little party. But it seems like we get a lot of people making it to the end, which, is a testament to people's strength, but this is a good chance to test out some of your tactics. You should be able to drop some of the people here. In any case, I digress, and back to the action. Got Daniel up front, and Daniel is always willing to drive the pace hard, and this is good. Definitely getting the party started, and looking at the horsepower put out by James and Ron, it's not an easy, well, perhaps for James it is. So James cruises up, and we're talking about making videos. For those of you who don't know, James also has a YouTube channel. I believe it's Colo Cyclocross or something like that. You can look it up or text me and I'll get you that. I should give him an advertisement here in like text or something like that. Yeah, maybe I'll do that. Anyway, thanks to James for putting his telemetry out here. And the game is once afoot. Good shot of Scott Pollia there on his new Arrow Road. No camera, as this is his race bike and it needs to be as light as possible. James up front, driving hard and looking at his power. 230 instantaneous, 242 for 30 seconds. So the party is indeed in earnest. And his watts per kilogram are pretty high, as he is not a big guy. So this is a lot of wattage being thrown down. I'm sitting second wheel, and unfortunately, my power meter's not working. So all I have is my heart rate. So at 167, I am working pretty good. I think I had enough of sitting on the wheel there. As most people know, or maybe they don't know, the further back, the more people in front of you, the better the draft. And I need better draft. But I don't want to go back too far. As you can see, it was a big crew. So I'm drifting back, and there's more than enough people that are probably willing to let me in at this point because they just want to sandbag and sit in. Good shot of Doug there, and I think that's Daniel next to him in the blue. It looks like we got Anna back there. Looks like Dustin. Looks like Jonathan of the Rio squad. Ron Kennedy in the yellow. And maybe even Diana Hassel way back there. In any case, I'm like fourth, fifth, sixth wheel, and I'm pretty happy at this point. I am in the sweet spot regardless. Heart rate 170, 168, speed 27 miles per hour. Yeah, it is no joke as James is driving at the front, 260 watts plus. Very nice. And this, in the old days, would in fact create a selection, but everyone has gotten so much stronger. It's just amazing. And of course, as everyone gets stronger, it's harder and harder to drop people. Good shot of Ron Kennedy there in the yellow. Looks like Dean Davis there in the Rio kit. Good shot of Anna there with the visor on there. And she's riding super strong this year and taking lots of hardware if you follow her on Strava. Speed still 24, and nothing has really changed yet. Everybody is in tow, and so far, no violations of the yellow line rule, which is good. And you see how the car just passed us? And this is why we don't cross the yellow line. One of the reasons. We really need to make certain that we are predictable and the cars can pass if they need be. 23 miles an hour here. and I am in the sweet spot, sort of a double echelon. I am well sheltered, but I'm working hard. Heart rate 168, which, as I'll keep whining about in all my videos, ever since COVID, so now my heart rate's up like 8 to 10 beats where it should be. I'm hoping that will actually resolve itself eventually. Doesn't seem like I'm any weaker. It just seems like my heart rate is a little higher. Actually, maybe I am a little weaker because I was starting to bring my gravel bike on some of these rides. And where I wasn't able to do a lot of work at the front, I was able to hang in there. So I don't know. Anyway, sweet position for me, heart rate up to 171, getting close to my threshold. James comes off, and it looks like Scott takes the lead here, working hard on that new bike. Good shot at Curtis coming up and moving up that way. This is a sign that maybe we're in for somewhat of an attack. Don't know. And there we go, some of our star riders there that have been labeled, and as such, you are deemed not an NPC. And for people who don't know, that's non-player character. It comes from folks that are in video games, the characters you can't interact with. They're just there as props in your favorite video game. Anyway, I digress, and we're back to the action. Looks like Scott still at the front working hard. Wolfgang on his wheel. Daniel there. James holding a nice position there in the wind, and the wind is slightly off of our right shoulder, as most of you could have guessed by the formation there. That's just not an accident. And here is one of the what used to be selection points. Wolfgang taking over and stands up, pounding on the pedals. And you can see how James's wattage up over 850 watts for a second there. Very nice. Ron a little smoother there, but good wattage put out also. There's Enrique and Dean. Good shot of Enrique. He's done a lot of the local racing. You'll see him on Soar and War, sort of an A-B rider there, and always willing to help. And ugh, yeah, this is the section where we were overlapped maybe a little too much. Somebody made a little wiggle waggle, and it caused a slight disruption. And you'll notice, like, the perfect draft is sometimes I don't really need. If I have a chance of like not overlapping wheels and sacrificing 5 watts, I'm gonna not overlap wheels. It's got to be someone that I really trust, like my brother or a really small group, maybe 3 of us working together that I know aren't gonna do anything stupid before I risk it. And you see, even in the Tour de France, lots of crashes. These guys are pros, but even the pros make mistakes. And when you start driving with your heart rate really high, like mine is now, like 177, so I am definitely like on the rivet at this point. Curtis looking very comfortable there, heads up. Dean looking like he's working a little harder. Curtis has got the good shelter. Dean is out there in the wind a little bit, and kudos to anybody that is on the side, the right side of the road there. It is a little bit harder. I'm pretty well sheltered, but still, heart rate is up there. Oh, down to 176. Oh, back to 177. I thought I got a little bit of recovery there. And everyone is just tight. No selection has been made yet. No attacks. And here we go. Perhaps the first attack there. And we have Ron's camera now being presented. This is the moment that I reminded him to turn it back on. And we can see that it looks like going up the road. It looks like Curtis, and it looks like maybe Doug tacked on there. Maybe Daniel's up there. The other Daniel. Good shot of Fred in the orange back there. Anna with the visor and the green looking strong. Her cadence much improved over the last so many months. Very good. Right in there with the big men as she's doing, I don't know, probably 200-300 miles a week these days. Ron's camera looks good as he fades back a little bit, and we are strung out. No one is going to attack now, but it looks like a selection has not yet been made. A testimony to how strong people are. Got Fred there in the orange kit out there, working hard in the wind. I think at one of these points I offer maybe Fred a chance to get in, or maybe this isn't the point. And here we go. People standing up a little bit. You can see the fluctuations in the wattage. James is 30-second power, over 240. Ron, 30-second power, 250, 260. Working hard there. This is like no joke. Dean, looking hard, working hard. Up there in the wind. As we start to crest this very, very last last hill here, and it looks like Daniel is attacking off the front here, going hard, standing up. Curtis is work done for the day. And it looks like we have the first selection, Steve, in the orange. They're not able to go with that jump and looks over for a little bit of help. At this point, my heart rate hit 184. This is a new maximum for me, at least for a while. At this point, I'm not going to have anything for anybody. So I'm just pushing it here at 184, hoping that I can just stay in contention. At the time, I didn't know it was that high. I never really look at my telemetry while I'm going. There's Curtis's first foray into the wind. Jamie always strong there, sitting on the wheel there. Looks like Dean coming around, Anna coming around, um, and I just give it up at this point. Now, the end of the sprint is actually the top of the hill. However, there is a segment that ends at the end of the road. And if I remember correctly, looking at this week's telemetry, this week Anna took the Queen QOM for this segment. Congrats on that one. Very nice. Besting a lot of strong riders. In any case, not quite certain who got that one, but a good time was indeed had by all. Very nice. Very nice. Getting my heart rate to come down. I probably need to do one of those things that, who was it, Brian Johnson, that billionaire spending $2 million a year to stay young. He's like, has this test where you get your heart rate really high, and then after a minute, you see how low it goes. And depending on how fast your heart rate comes down is an indication of heart health. You need to do that test one of these days. See where I'm at after the COVID thing. Anyway, peace out, everybody.